Beautiful Wednesday morning in the city of Lagos. Good morning and welcome to Today in the News. You're in Vanguard Life. My name is Ololade Adewumi. I look into our newspapers for today, starting with Vanguard. Major headline on Vanguard says, Abductions. Tinubu orders 24-hour aerial surveillance on Kwara, Kebbi, Niger forest. Over 20 abducted in fresh Kwara attack. Governor Idris receives 25 abducted Kebbi schoolgirls. Parents of abducted Niger students plead for rescue. NUT threatens withdrawal of teachers from classrooms over attacks. Halt kidnappings, prosecute perpetrators, UN tells federal government. While security agencies can't bomb bandit enclaves, says presidency. Major headline can be found on page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. Top banner, Dangote, honorable partner to raise refinery capacity to 1.4 mbpd. Tax systems, Nigeria tech firm celebrated in USA with Microsoft Best Partner Award. CBN retains monetary policy rate at 27%. Insecurity, reps protest rising attacks. Sanwo-Olu presents 4.23 trillion naira budget for 2026. Nigeria's high-level insecurity worrisome, says Catholic bishops. Away from that, I look into the Punch newspaper. A major headline says, kidnapping spree escalates as federal government negotiates hostages' freedom. 18 mothers, children, others abducted in fresh Kano, Kwara raids. Kebbi girls freed. Federal government defense negotiations with bandits. Top banner, Wike bloc asks court to nullify PDP convention. Sanwo-Olu presents 4.2 trillion naira 2026 Lagos budget. And lastly, 2027, I will stop rigging, vote buying. Amokwit on vows. Away from the Punch, I look into the Nation newspaper. Major headline on the Nation says, Tinubu relieved by freedom for 24 abducted Kebbi schoolgirls. Release facilitated through non-kinetic approach. Pupils to reunite with parents today. Top banner, judges seek to wash hands off pre-poll cases. 16 banks meet recapitalization requirement. CBN affirms. Abbas, abduction orchestrated to create fear in Nigerians. Away from the Nation newspaper, said Sanwo-Olu promises shared prosperity with 4.23 trillion naira 2026 budget. Federal government unveils online classes for schools over 1.2 million teacher shortage. CBN holds interest rate at 27% as 16 banks meet recapitalization targets. That's all we have on the front page of the newspapers this morning. Join us after the break for a quick analysis of some of our top stories. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Today in the News. You're on Vanguard Life. My name is Ololade Adewumi. A look into our analysis, our stories for today. Mr. Gberu Olajuigbe, Executive Director, Emergency Risk Alert, is here in the studio. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you, Lolade?
Fine, thank you very much, sir. I look into our top story for today, our major story, actually. The president of Nigeria has ordered 24-hour aerial surveillance over forests in Kwara State, Kebbi State, and parts of Niger State. The aim is to support ground troops and help rescue victims following a surge in kidnappings and terrorist activity. The directive followed a recent attack on a community called Isakpa in Kwara, just 5 kilometers from Eruku, where more than 20 persons, including pregnant women, nursing mothers, and children, were abducted. Let's look at it. How effective would you say the 24-hour area surveillance is, in curbing and tackling the kidnappings and banditry that has been happening?
Yeah, I really want us to understand the context of this attack and Syria attack that are going on in the country against the hapless people and hapless community. The fact is that anyway, in strategy is hardly not. It's hard to say that certain solution will not work, but we will wait for 24 hours to see the effectiveness of the directive of the president. But the fact is that the area has become vulnerable for a long time. And this action ought to have been put in place even before now, not necessarily as a responsive action, but as preventive. And like we say in Nigeria, we never prepare for war until we are in the war front, until we are at the battle. And it's sad that we have a lot of people being kidnapped. And I predicted this. Immediately, the Trump administration said that, okay, it's coming, not invading Nigeria. I don't know where people got invasion from. It's coming to root out the terrorists in Nigeria swiftly and, of course, maybe ferociously too. But the fact is that we should not restrict ourselves as the people doing the analysis of that war. Even the terrorists, they have people who analyze for them. And they will know that if the president of the United States should strike, there will be grave consequences for their action. So they will kidnap as many as possible for them to be used as human shield, and have projected this option so that we know that it's not a teacup that we are dealing with here. And of course, Shapa is few kilometers away from Eruku. And if that is so, that means that axis is ridden with terrorists. If it is the same people that kidnap and kill at Eruku, which federal government have had, in the word of Onanuga, peace deal with, then it's unfortunate. There's no repentance. There is no, but if it's another group, then we have a lot of people in the forest to battle with. And whatever we can do, I've advocated technology. The world of war has moved from the so-called artillery, getting full soldier, in fact, to be deployment of technology to fight war. You can sit at your office at Aso Rock as a president, as a commander-in-chief, and be monitoring what is going on. There are gadgets, there are equipment to achieve this, and there will be effective communication and possibly directive with assistance of your defense advisors and military advisors, if you have one, outside the normal chief of army staff, chief of defense staff, and every other thing for analysis of issues and actions that are taking place in porous and vulnerable geographies of Nigeria. But I'm not sure that the president has this type of equipment. And of course, I'm talking of equipment that will allow Trump to be looking at how bombing was going on in Gaza the other time. So I don't know what we have acquired and who is supporting us in terms of in terms of analysis of issues and action, analysis of intents and deployment of people to respond to available and reliable intelligence that have been amassed. So a good luck to Mr. President if he can get that job done. But then the problem is that we are dealing with a fluid boundary. They are in one place today, in the next 10 minutes, 1 hour, they are in another place. So we should appreciate that and accommodate that in our response plan as a people, as a military, and of course as people that are expected to respond to this ugly violence that have taken our country by the jugular.
Let's look at one of the strategies that is being used by the federal government. The federal government is reportedly using, negotiation for the release of hostages. Would you say that this negotiation is absolutely like a necessary evil, or this is in a way encouraging more kidnappings?
Well, it's curious when I hear of negotiation. Negotiation, what is the basis? What was it need for those people? And they call it peace deal. At whose expense? At what cost? Those are questions that are not clear to us. Because it is before then, it is surprising that we could get these 25 people released, which is good for them, their family, the society, and to the entire humanity, without a single harass of a terrorist group And why without a confirmation that they have repented and that they have vowed that they are not going to carry out such nefarious activities? This is a country governed by law. There are anti-terrorism acts that have been put in place. So what happens to them? Is it peace deal based on this one, and they can go and do another one so that we begin to look for peace deal upon peace deal again? Are we going to root them out with that type of measure and system and commitment? Those are issues of concern. The content of the peace deal is not known to Nigerian, to average Nigeria, and there have been speculation of the payment of ransom, which personally I have not confirmed, but then the speculation is there. And of course, like I say, very curious to understand that you kidnap our children, our girls, our people, release them. And they release them willingly without any cost at the end of the federal government or the state. So I don't understand that type of peace deal. This deal, I see a peace deal that was made in position of weakness, in position of, so let it be politically correct. But the bottom line is that I am happy that those people in bondage have been released. Some of them, not all of them do. But then we have something to smile about. But then these people, the only way to treat them is not about forgiveness, it's not about anything, because they never repent in the first place. And of course, repentance is not in our constitution. What is our constitution and the law against terror is to exterminate terrorism. And of course, liquidate those that are carrying out the act of terror across our country. That is where we can surely say that we have a responsible state, a sovereign state that can prevent, that can protect, and as a matter of fact, that can defend the territorial integrity of our country.
So the House of Representatives recently had a plenary, session where they actually spoke about the rise of, violent attacks across Nigeria, specifying that 24,000 violent incidents has happened this year and 9,500 deaths has happened this year. What would you say should be the role of the House of Reps, the legislature, in overseeing and holding our security agencies responsible?
Well, I don't know. The National Assembly generally, including the House of Representatives, have been lackluster in their approach to this issue. I don't know how they are comfortable seeing Nigeria sending people to attend hearing on Nigeria abroad. Why at home they cannot invite the president? In fact, they should summon the president, not even invitation. This is crisis. Let president come and explain what he's doing, what he has put in place, how they can support him, whether with law or not, how they can strengthen the law if law is necessary. But then, we just say like the executive, like the legislator. Every society deserves the type of people they have as leaders, at least in the first instance, at least in the second instance. Initially, we can blame leaders for problem, but later we blame citizens. What if citizens are there? Maybe they have seen that the citizens are all, if not for Trump, do you think they will even bother? Because I can't see any seriousness on the part of the president and on the part of the legislators. Even in this midst of challenge, which I have personally and repeatedly called for declaration of national emergency by the president so as to tackle this, you could see that just yesterday, the president was naming ambassador for the so-called Renew Hope. I don't know where the ambassador is going to stay, whether in this embassy of hopelessness and despair, whether in this embassy of death and killing and wanting destruction of lives and property. So I don't know why the president should concern about politics at this particular time. The serious nation don't get to this level of complacence where the people just move on, when people are killed, when generals are slaughtered and killed ruthlessly and dastardly by Ocean, by the dregs of the forest, who tag themselves, who have been classified as terrorists. So it's befuddling that we have a president that will not, for once, hold the bull by the horn and clear this mess at at this particular time. It is good that Trump has kick-started the concern, but then we are really a people of concern, and the rest of the world should designate us as people of personal concern, a particular concern, like the United States has done. Because it is not easy for people to move on when hundreds are killed, when people are slaughtered, when generals captured and killed, and we just move on like that as if nothing has happened. Maybe waiting for the turn of anybody. But what I want people to know is that you are not going to be greater than how your government treats the people you are part of. If you don't talk, then one day it might be your turn and nobody will speak for you. We should begin to put pressure on the president to take necessary action. We should not allow him to escape the scale of accountability for the killings and, of course, for lack of protection, for failure of the state to protect, failure of the state to prevent, and failure of the state to defend even the territorial integrity of Nigeria. So the National Assembly, the legislature, ought to have started this deal from. I heard of Dogu was suggesting that they should shut down the National Assembly so that they will know that it's serious and everything. These people have been prioritizing unnecessary things, personal gratification and personal access to national purse to the disadvantage of the welfare and security of Nigeria. So they are concerned now because everybody is concerned because Trump is concerned. So I don't see effectiveness of action in what they are going to do. They have not taken a very resolute action. They ought to have passed, if they are sure, they ought to have passed that the president is not doing enough. They have not summoned the president. If they summon the president, we want to listen to his option that he has on the ground. We want to listen to how technology will be used. We want to listen to what will be done. We want to listen to the diplomatic action that he has taken. A president that has not appointed any ambassador in the last 2 years is unserious about diplomatic relations. A president that have threatened as chairman of ECOWAS to root out the military people that took over in the Sahelian country. Even when you know that those countries are contiguous to your state, and it was not in your national interest to be at the front of push for them to surrender power to the so-called civilian that were government that were toppled in those areas when they are not even behaving like civilians. I think it's a disease that is afflicting most of African countries. Look at what happened recently in Côte d'Ivoire. Alassane Ouattara, who was equally a victim of what is perpetrating today as a president. So it's issue of concern. Maybe Africa generally, except for a few countries like Mauritius, few countries like possibly South Africa, that we can see a very sure element of democratic practice and democracy. Other African countries and leaders, I think they are concerned about themselves, their families, and of course their cronies. And we clap for them, celebrating impunity, and of course celebrating mediocrity as a form of leadership. So the National Assembly is not speaking anything new other than their usual political correctness. So correctness, and that is what they are speaking, and no action. So backing without any bite.
Some states are ordering, the closure, lockdown of schools in their states, especially in high-risk areas. Do you support this, responses? Would you say that this is a sustainable short-term response?
Well, it's not a sustainable thing because children have to go to school. If they don't go to school, the option is for them to be recruited. They are joined the class, and that is where the problem of today is flowing from. We ignore these children that have become threats to us yesterday. So that is why we are where we are today. part of the human security strategy is human capital development. Nobody, and particularly as a teacher, not happy that students are out of school for any reason at all, and more so for security reason, which you cannot actually say when it will be resolved. But then, what do we do in the meantime? They are, instead of, I think what the government is doing is to avoid embarrassment. It's embarrassing. It's a national embarrassment that 300 people will be taken away at a go in a Nigerian school that have president, that have legislature, that have judiciary. A so-called state that hundreds will be kidnapped at once. It has never happened in any country, even in the context of fiercest war. It has never happened in any country. It's a shame to us all. It is a shame to the government of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. It is a shame to the citizens of Nigeria. And that type of shame, we must assuage it, we must avert it, we must avenge it by moving ruthlessly against these kidnappers who are terrorists, who are blood-sucking demons that we have across the country. It is not only the state government that is shutting down schools. Federal government, most of 47 federal unity schools have been shut down too. Mm-hmm. So, of course, there is a concern about even that of Abuja, which they refuted that, it was not supported. But the part is that the threat is palpable and it's everywhere. It's getting to everyone. You could see the panicky meeting at Ibadan yesterday by the governors of the Southwest.
Yeah.
It's good, but it is not. That. You see, you plan for war during the time of peace. So that is not all this fire brigade approach that we are doing and everything. This is the time the president should be taking a very deep reflection, working with all the states, calling them and declare. I still insist that he must declare a national emergency so as to give him a broad opportunity to intervene strictly, decisively, firmly, and of course, with support, with external support. So this can be done if you can think innovatively, if you can act courageously, and if you can support people fiercely, particularly the military.
You spoke about the Southwest Governors meeting yesterday in Ibadan. Let's talk about that. They've renewed their call for state police, and they even, in their words, they said the time is now. Do you support that statement saying the time for state police is now? Do you support the South Governors?
Even the one they have the capacity to create, even the one they agreed the last 5 years, as a matter of fact, I supported them in bringing the framework for the operation, even though I didn't call it Amatekun then. If even that of Ondo State is drowsy now, after the death of Akeredolu, the last governor of the state, the late governor of the state. So that one is even drowsy. But other Southwestern states, what are they doing now to ward off all this attack, particularly Ekiti, that is a very contiguous to Kwara State, where these things are taking place now? What are they doing? That is the issue. Are they rejigging that? Because state police is not what you can have in the next 6 months. Because it's a constitutional issue, the amendment will take place. Even if you have to declare it, assuming that it's created today, they have to be trained. So it's a long time action that you are projecting as if it's immediate. I'm supporting it. I'm not saying that I'm against state police, but in the interim, can you make use of what you have, what is within yourself? State governors should not be helpless in a condition like this. People are getting killed, people are getting kidnapped, and you want people to be politic, and they are politicking. They campaign from one party to others. Is that how to govern Nigeria? Is that how to govern? I have never seen very lawless political class like that of Nigeria anywhere in the world. INEC has not asked you to start campaign. What they are doing is campaigning, which is illegal, which is immoral, which is even an affront on the callous victimization of Nigeria at this particular material time. So it's unfortunate.
One of the things the Southwest governors also spoke about is, they called on the federal government to help deploy forest guards around the forest belts in their region. Do you think this would actually solve a part of the problem, or will just cause more problem?
What is forest guard going to do with that Amateku cannot do, that they cannot start with? Look, people are just giving excuse to escape accountability. I am disappointed at the characters that we have at the Southwest governor today. They don't think for their own. All they think about is politics now. So why are they calling on the president? Have they done the one that is within their capacity? That is my issue. A forest guard, is he going to perform magic? Will they even pay the forest guard? They will even use the money to buy a car for their girlfriend rather than even keeping Nigeria safe. That is the issue. Are they dealing with corruption that is pervasive among them? Look, whether we like it or not, and I've said this severally, that corruption is equally a species of violence. Most of the crises we have today, they flow from abundance of corruption that have deprived Nigerians of education, deprived them of equal opportunity, deprived them of access to health, access to capacity, to human capacity service, access to every other services. When people are reduced to live like animals, of course, they come out with a monstrous character. And when they begin to spread this character, we say that there is crisis, there is violence, there is orgies of evil that is going on. But not knowing that fundamentally, the root causes are in the act of corruption, in the act of bad governance, and the act of not committed to the duty that you are elected to perform, whether as a governor, as representative of the people, as member of government, and functionaries and officials of the state.
We have spoken a lot about, accountability from the state government, the federal government, and especially over the security lapses and their failure to stop kidnapping. How do you think we, the citizens, need to hold the federal government and the state government accountable?
JP Koran, he made a statement or a word, he made a declaration. Is there that it is the common fate of the indolence to have their right become active, to become prey to the active. The condition upon which man has given liberty to man is eternal vigilance. The people, when you live in a community, a country where people are not vigilant, where people have turned those who should be their servants to their kings and imperial rulers, then there's no hope for that society. Tinubu is the servant of Nigeria. He's a servant of Nigeria. Nigeria must not begin to worship him. Nigeria must begin to see him as a servant that needs to work for them, rather than a president, imperial king, or imperial president that they have turned him to. And that is why nobody respects Nigeria. And that is why it is possible for 20, 30, 50, 100 Nigeria to be killed. And the flag will not even flow at mouth. And when one of the thieves, one of the rogues that govern Nigeria died, and they will fold the entire flag of Nigeria and possibly declare holiday. Citizens must be active. They must become active agents in the affair of their country. No country gets better without the input of our citizens. Old country accountable. For example, you can't wake up one day and say that you want to impose tax on Nigeria without input of the people. You can't wake up one day and just declare that fuel subsidy is gone. And those are the things that crystallize into all these snowballs of violence we are seeing today. Life is difficult, and of course, it's increasingly getting difficult. So you can't. It's not even about economy alone. Now you are even afraid for your life, to sleep, to work, to even every time the palpitation is too much for parents. Where your children are, you don't know. In fact, we have returned to it was not as even bad as this. When Frank Olisi of NTA at 9 p.m. new lights on Sundays, in those days we said, do you know where your child is? So do you know where your children are now? In the school, they are not safe. At home, they are not safe. On the way, on the road, they are not safe. So how do we call that a state that is being governed well? And if it is not a state that is being governed well, and you don't have people who are citizens who have become active agents in their own governance and in their own ruling. Of course, that is the definition of a failed state, a definition of a tyrannical state, a definition of ungoverned space.
Thank you very much for joining us today, sir.
It's a pleasure being with you. Thank you.
That was Mr. Gbenro Olajuigbe, Executive Director, Emergency and Risk Alert. Remember, you can follow us on all our social media platforms as seen on your screen. For up-to-date stories, check out our website at www.vanguardngr.com. My name is Olola.